What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? I'm just going to fix my light here real quick. Make sure it's facing me and not to the ceiling. How's everyone doing? How are we doing? This is going to be the first episode of, I don't know if Volleyball Source Weekly is the right name, is the right thing to call this, but this is going to be the first episode of a weekly update show that we're going to do, similar to the 9x9. And we're going to see how everyone likes it. And we're going to progress like we can together. My name is Everett DeLorme, and today we are going to talk about some volleyball. All right, so it is still very, very early in the season. I mean, the men's season hasn't even started yet. That is going to be for next week, but we do have a number of things going on on the women's side of things. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the Italian women. We're going to talk about the Turkish women. And then we're going to touch on a few of the different results happening around the leagues, mainly Italy, a little bit of Japan, and then, of course, Poland, with everything going on. Now, as for now, this show is just going to be called Volleyball Source Weekly. I think I'm going to be putting up a poll in the Discord on different names that it could be, whether it's just going to be a weekly show or whether it's Volleyball Source Weekly or something else. I think we can talk about it. We can discuss it as a community and see how everything goes. Now, I know there was a lot of thoughts about me doing some of the round tables as members only, and I want to assure you guys that the majority of the content is still going to be free. Most of the stuff is still going to be free for everyone to be able to watch and to listen to. And these will be going up onto Podbean as well for iTunes and Spotify and all of those fun things. But I'm looking for different ways to create content, and I'm looking for different ways to be able to interact with the community. And I think that there was a few people who were, the Volleyball Journal Sketcher. That's actually not bad. We can put that down as one of the questions. But just back to the whole membership thing before we dive into what's going on right now. We have a number of people who pay for membership on a monthly basis, and I really appreciate those people, but I wanted to be able to bring value to them. And yeah, I think it's just going to be a better way to delineate what type of content goes where. So, I've done some previews now for the Lega Volley and for the Sutenlar League, and both of those leagues are going to get proper previews, just much shorter on YouTube for free for everyone to experience and to see. Okay. But I just wanted to find some different ways to be able to, engage with the audience. I think, in the future, those members only streams can also turn into members only watch alongs, where I invite kind of anyone who is a member to join the watch along and ask questions and hang out while we're watching different shows. I think this is going to be that could be something that's really cool. And ultimately, to talk about it frankly, is that over the past number of years, as we did the 9x9 and everything else, this wasn't my full-time job. I was a bartender. That's how I made my money. And then, over the past year, I was working with Volleyball World. And after working with Volleyball World, I really didn't want to go back to bartending. I really didn't want to go back to slinging drinks and staying up late at night and having to deal with dirty mats and stuff like that. And I'd really like to make volleyball my full-time gig again. And, over the past month and a little bit doing the World Championships, I was putting in essentially full-time hours and made around $400 just from the views and stuff like that here on YouTube. So just by, adding the membership, and for all of those who purchased the membership, I really appreciate you all. I was able to, almost double what I would normally make in a month, which is normally around $150. And, that just kind of it just gives me more incentive and more opportunities to be able to create more content if I'm able to do it kind of at a full-time basis. Obviously, there's other things that need to go into that, hopefully some sponsorships and some advertising and stuff like that. But I really appreciate everyone who purchased the membership. It's as low as it can go. It will be it will technically go up for some of you, because right now it is at $4.99 Canadian, and that's going to change to $4.99 American. In the future, I know a lot of you had mentioned Patreon and stuff like that. And that is definitely going to be something that I'm going to look into. But right now, the majority of the audience is here on YouTube, so I decided just to keep it all in one place, and then once things grow a little bit, then we can go a few other places. But this show right here, whether it's weekly or the Volleyball Journal or whatever it can be, or whatever it will be called, will be free and will always be free. The idea is that there's going to be a certain basis of stuff that's always going to be free, and then the paid for stuff, the membership stuff, is always going to be just kind of an add-on, if you want to go a little bit more in depth into what we're doing. So those round tables, I'm hoping to be able to do, 2, 3, 4, maybe a month, where they're members only, and we're going to, interact with different members from the community and the Discord to really dive in to what's going on, kind of on a week by week basis, in the volleyball world. So yeah, I hope that gives you guys a bit of a better understanding. I know I've read through all of the comments, and I really appreciate you guys letting me know what you think and how you feel about it all. And yeah, I think it's just, obviously you all know that there's a lot that's happened over the past year, and I just want to kind of see how we can do this a little bit differently. If you don't want to pay for the membership and you don't think it's suitable for volleyball, as one of the person saying in the chat, then that's definitely your prerogative. I'm not going to hold it against you. But at the end of the day, if you guys want more volleyball content, then I need to be able to find a way to do this more than I am, and make a little bit more money than I am currently now, because I still got to live. I still got to pay rent. I still got to eat. Yeah, that's things how it goes. As Orkin just said, like, if you want to listen to a 3-hour discussion of how inevitable Conegliano is, you should pay the $5. And, as of right now, not suitable for volleyball. Side out. I apologize. That actually is a good name, because, another thing that I thought about is like the volleyball club, but yeah, we can work on it. I'll put after this is done, I'll put together a bit of a poll in the Discord, and we'll see how I'm feeling. And of course, if you're watching this for the first time, welcome. The Volleyball Source Discord is one of probably the most active volleyball community on the planet, online volleyball community on the planet, and the link to join is just below. Okay, so without further ado, we're going to jump into what happened over the course of this week, and don't get me in trouble there, Orkran. We're going to jump into some of the different things that were going on in the world of volleyball this week, and first and foremost, we're going to be talking about the women's leg of volley feminily, and they're already in week 2 of competition. And as you'll see here, there was a number of results over the past few weeks. I'm just going to read down the results from week number 1. Chieri beat Firenze 3-1. Cuneo went to 5 sets with Macerata with a 3-2 win. Scandicci took down Monviso. Monviso is formerly Pinerolo, so I know it's going to take a bit of a process for us to learn some of these new names here. So Monviso, formerly Pinerolo, lost to Scandicci 3-1. Vallifolia took down Perugia 3-2. Novara 3-donged San Giovanese. Conegliano with the reverse sweep over Busto. 3-2, and that one was actually a really exciting game, as we'll talk about it in a little bit further on, as Conegliano has had a bit of a slow start to the season. They're still undefeated, but it's a bit of a slow start, and Malonza got the 3-0 win over Bergamo. So I don't think we can really need to go into that one all that much. I was impressed by Busto in week number 1. I think they're really, really aggressive, but they really fizzled out as Conegliano started to get into the match. Now, looking at the results for week number 2, right at the top of that list there, if you're watching on video on YouTube, you'll see that Chieri put the league on notice with a really, really big 3-2 win over Vero Volley Malonza on Sunday. Now, we'll talk about that one in just a second, but some other results. Bergamo bounced back with a nice 3-0 win over San Giovanni. Monviso, aka Pinerolo, took down Macerata in a 3-dong really easily. 25-18, 25-16, 25-17. Novara continues to impress, and they were really good down the middle in this one. We'll talk about that a little bit, with a nice 3-1 win over Busto, and Busto with a really tough beginning to this season, having Conegliano in week number 1 and Novara, who in my opinion is the second best team in the league, in week number 2. Firenze with a really nice win over Valfolia, and remember, Firenze was in the midst of the relegation race last year. So the fact that they were able to beat last year's sixth place team in Valfolia just proves how good they are. Conegliano, a 3-dong win over Cuneo, and then Scandicci has continued their winning ways. They are one of 2 undefeated teams so far this season against Perugia, after a win against Perugia. Okay, so first and foremost, we're going to be talking about the Novara against the Chieri against Malonza match. And in this one, I think this was a really big statement match by Chieri. And just because they got the win, I don't think that means that Malonza is terrible. I think they're just going to be working through some things. But first and foremost, on the Chieri side of things, they were really able to utilize all 3 of their outsides. Now, Stella Nervini did get the MVP in this match, and I thought she was fantastic. She was 20 for 50 in attack. And the way that Van Allen really works with all 3 of her outsides is really, really impressive. Kunzler was really strong in this one. She had 16. And then Annette Nemeth, who also continued her scoring ways with 25 kills on 54 attempts. She also had 2 blocks and 2 aces, the only 2 aces on the day for Chieri. And, there was a few things that I really liked about Chieri's game. First and foremost, they're really patient, right? They are not afraid to swing at the block. And I mean, that's part of the reason why Malonza ended up with 14 blocks in this match. They have it 16 here, but regardless, any way you look at it, it was a big blocking day for Malonza. But Chieri is not afraid to swing at the block, recycle, reset things, and get some more swings. And, part of the way that we're actually seeing that, if we go over to the match stats here of this match, you'll see that Malonza actually outscored them 119 to 111. That was mostly because they dominated the 4th set, 25-16. They both had 2 aces, but Chieri actually had 15 more kills than Malonza. 77 kills to 62 for Malonza, and also made 39 errors overall. And that to me is just the many opportunities that Chieri was getting from their defense. They were fantastic on defense, and their entire system right now for Chieri is done really, really well. They're doing a really good job at moving together as a unit. Their defenders are sitting outside of the blockers really well, making those digs. They were, I think, frustrating Paolo Agonu at a number of occasions where they're just getting the ball up and keeping the play going. And it was really good to see, because they have 3 good options on the outside, and Van Allen is just able to work that offense, and keep it going throughout the entirety of the match. I thought Ilaria Spirito was fantastic. We can only see her passing numbers here, as the passing for Chieri was overall very, very good in this match. Spirito was passing at 70%, but I really wish I could see the dig stats. Of course, in volleyball, we just don't care about digs at all. It's a bit of an issue, not in the eyes of, any of the bigwigs, but it is for people like me who actually want to see one of the biggest parts of the game on paper. Okay, but yeah, Chieri, really good defensively, and I think this kind of really puts the league on notice. Of course, Malonza, and for those who are new, we call them Malonza because they used to be Vero Volley Monza, and now they're Vero Volley Milano, because Monza is a suburb of Milano, and there's no Milano in the women's league. So now they call themselves Milano, but we like to call them Malonza just because it's fun, and it's fun to make fun of them. Okay, now if we go down to the Malonza side of things, you'll see here that Paolo Agonu was in a typical Agonu form. She was 25 for 660 in attacking, only made one unforced error, which is huge for her. She was very, very efficient on Sunday. Also had two blocks and an ace, one of the two aces for Malonza. But other than that, I found that they really struggled to find that secondary scoring. Khalil Lanier struggled early on. She was 8 for 22. She got pulled in the third set for Elena Pietrini, and I thought Pietrini was awesome. She came in the fourth. She was the big reason why they were so good. She was 8 for 13 in the fourth with no unforced errors, and Malonza made no unforced errors altogether in the match. But down the stretch, it just seemed to me like their offense was very predictable, right? You could tell what they were doing, and it was just very easy to read. And while Chieri isn't the best blocking team, as I said, they're very, very good on defense, and they're able to keep that ball alive continuously. The other part of it is I think that Malonza is really good at the net in terms of blocking. They might be the best blocking team in the league. Kurtajic was fantastic. She had 7 blocks in this one, 16 total for the team on Sunday. But defensively, I thought the Busto at times was a bit of a bit of a liability defensively. Chieri was just tipping the ball over that block, and they're not really swinging at Agonu all that much. I mean, they are obviously, but there's a lot of tips and rolls that are falling on the Malonza side early on, and you could tell that throughout the match there was a little bit of frustration on their sideline, which is very much understandable. Malonza, with the roster that they have, or with Paolo Agonu, basically, you're always expected to win. But as Orkun is pointing out in the chat, they did lose Alessia Oro, their number one setter. They lost their P1 in Miriam Silla, and they also lost Hélène Cazot, the French outside, who was fantastic for Vakifbank. But we're going to be talking about that just a little bit later. But I'm not worried about Malonza at this early stage of the match. I think that this is a very, very good team, and they're just going to have to work into some things. But Chieri is the real deal. Van Allen is fantastic. She can keep her team really steady, and they just spread that ball out really nicely. So good job by Chieri in this match number 1. Another match to talk about here is Novara, a 3-1 win over Busto. 25-19, 25-21. They lost 21-25, and then 25-20. Mayu Ishikawa was very good. She has 16 for 33. Also, her passing numbers were outstanding. Passing all around for Novara was really, really good. Giulia Leonardi as well at the libero position, 86% positive, 68% perfect. And that's on 22 targets as well. So not much of a serving strategy out there for Busto. They're just kind of spraying it all over the place. Novara, 75% positive, 46% perfect. And this is why we really saw Novara dominate down the middle. And Amber Giedi, the American, was the MVP of the match. She had a match-high 19 points, which is huge. She was 15 for 21 in attack with 4 blocks. Just a massive afternoon for Giedi, and what I'm pretty sure is her first match in the Italian league. Definitely this year, obviously. But in general, Novara was really strong down the middle. They are 25 for 40 in combined down the middle. Sarah Bonifacio was really good as well, and they really just dominated on the other side of the net for Busto. Josefina Bosa was fantastic with 24 points. She was 22 for 44 with 2 blocks, but did make 5 serving errors on the day. Busto had 14 serving errors overall with no aces. Melanie Para, the rookie out of TCU, has been very good so far. She was one of the reasons why Busto was able to put such a scare in Conegliano in week number 1. She came up with 16 points. She was 15 for 35. Overall, no unforced errors, but to get blocked 3 times. She also had a block herself, but just not much else to go there for Busto. They ended up bringing Valeria Batista into the second set, and she was all right. She was 9 for 24, but didn't have the highest efficiency. She was made 2 unforced errors and was blocked 4 times. But early on in the season, Novara looking really good. We saw Lena Alsmeyer play most of the match last week. Britt Herbots got the start this week, and then there was a bit of a switch going on as we saw Tatiana Tolok go down with an injury early on in the match for Novara. They brought in Taylor Mims, who was a little bit hot and cold. They started Alsmeyer on the right side in the third set, and then brought Mims back in when that maybe wasn't working the best. Alsmeyer 2 for 22 with a minus efficiency, 2 for 14, I apologize, with a minus efficiency overall on the day. So really good outing for Novara. My early season prediction of them looking really, really good really holds true so far in this one. Next up, Conegliano continues their hot streak, and Isabel Hawk has been by far the best player for Conegliano. She was unreal in this one, and I mean, they are playing a lower level team in Cuneo, but still 20 for 29 in attack with 3 blocks is huge. She didn't make any serving errors and had 3 aces as well. She has been very, very good so far and has really carried Conegliano, because Zhu Ting and Gabi Guimares have just been uncharacteristically bad, and Gabi especially. And I mean, if you looked at that, she was subbed out in the third set, in the second, and didn't start the third. Gabi Guimares was 1 for 5 in attack, only 1 point in 2 sets of play. Not what we're used to seeing from one of the best players in the game, but we did get to see Fatoumata Silla, who of course impressed everyone this year at the World Championships while playing for Slovenia. She's originally from Gambia, but 8 for 17 in attack with a block and an ace. She had 10 points off the bench to be the second highest score for Conegliano, and I don't know so far about this Conegliano team, right? They've just been struggling. Not struggling, and it's so funny to say. They're just not dominating the way that they expected to, right? They went down 0-2 to Busto last weekend, and then they ended up, they did get the good win over Cuneo, but still, Zhu and Gabi just not up to their usual standards as we expect them to be. And I'm not surprised. This has been a long national team summer, but Zhu didn't play national team, so I'm wondering how she's going to get things going. Just not the usual efficiency that we're seeing from Conegliano this year. But I do kind of want to point out that we are playing with a new ball in the Lega Volley Femminile this year, right? They've gone to the Molten ball, which is less of a skill ball and is more of a power player's ball. And I think that's part of the reason why maybe Isabel Hawk is having such a good year. And, it is a change to go from playing with that Mikasa ball as we play with internationally to the Molten. And I'm wondering how that's going to affect the rest of the season. Now, after a certain point, then you have played with that ball throughout the majority of the year. But remember, the Champions League and the Club World Championships and other events like that are going to be played with the Mikasa. And I think that this is a huge thing that, is going to be interesting to watch with the Lega Volley Femminile this year, because that Molten is a much, much different ball. And I'm actually surprised that they've gone back to it. I wonder if the Lega volley on the men's side will do that. We'll have to look into that as well. But regardless, Conegliano still undefeated throughout this season. Now, next up, we have Scandicci getting a 3-1 win over Perugia, and this one is much of the same. Scandicci going back to Antropova as their number one go-to player. She had 21 points in this one. Camilla Weitzel and Avery Skinner also had 9 points apiece. And Sarah Franklin, nicely enough, had 8 points off the bench as well. Whereas for Perugia, Kashana Williams led the way with 25 points. And realistically, I think that this one, the only reason that Scandicci lost that set is because they started playing with some different lineups. Skinner was subbed out after the third and in place of Sarah Franklin, and I thought Sarah Franklin did a pretty good job. Her passing was all right, 47% positive, 11% perfect, and her attacking was pretty good as well, 8 for 15 overall. And yeah, I just found that they're clearly just working in with some different things, but as we know, this is always going to be Katerina Antropova's team. Last year, she had an MVP like season, one of like statistically the best scoring season of all time in the Lega Volley Femminile. So I'm not too surprised about that in the slightest. And as I said, 25 points for Kashana Williams. She was 24 for 48 overall with a block as well. And then Beatrice Gardini, who was brought in to really be one of the big players on this team, also had a pretty good outing, going 12 for 27 with a block and 2 aces as well. We've already talked about Conegliano. One of the more exciting matches this week was also Firenze getting a good win over Valfolia, and Firenze actually a surprise outing by Vanja Bukilic. She had 24 points, going 24 for 54 with 4 blocks and 2 aces. And man, I thought Bukilic was pretty bad when I saw her play for Serbia this summer. So the fact that she's able to come out and put up a outing like she did today, that was really, really good for her. Also, Julian Nolema, 20 for 44 with 2 blocks and an ace as well for a really nice win for Firenze. On the Valfolia side, it's clear that without Bici, they're really struggling to score, and she was not good in this one. 9 for 35, and basically with like a 5% efficiency in this match. Just not a good outing. And without her, they don't have another go-to player, right? Last year they had Simone Lee Wank, the American, who's now gone to, I believe she's gone to Brazil to play. And they just don't have that secondary scoring. Without Bici, it's not working. And Loveth Omurui, I actually thought had a better match than I expected from her. She was 18 for 47 with 3 blocks on the day, but really had some troubles later in the match and made one of her 3 errors really late that ended up giving the match to Firenze. But overall, a really good win for Firenze, and that's good for them. As we said, otherwise, Mondviso got a 3-dong over Macerata, and then Bergamo got a nice little 3-0 win over Consolini. We're just going to call San Giovanni Consolini because that's what it says in their logo, okay? And now Bergamo was a playoff team last year, and once again, they are heavily relying on Cese Alema, the Cuban right side. She was 16 for 29. I'm just going to call her Cese for the rest of the year. She was 16 for 29 in attack with a block, and also made no errors in serving, and a really good serving day for Bergamo. They only had 2 service errors, so if they can keep those serving errors low, that is going to be really, really good for this team. As I thought they did a really good job at. Of course, they have Cese as their number 1 option, but they're just spreading the offense out a little bit. Okay. Looking at the calendar this week or upcoming, this is actually a two-day match week for the Lega Volley Femminili. So tomorrow on October 15th, it is going to be a really big matchup. I'm excited for this one. Chieri against Novara, two undefeated teams so far. Obviously, I think the advantage goes to Novara in this one, but I think this is going to be a really good test to see how good this Chieri team actually is, because this is another team that has, Novara, just like Chieri, is another team that has the ability to spread their offense all around, and they've got some quality players, as we know. Now, I think Tolok is probably going to be out, so they'll probably start with Sims once again, but it'll be interesting to see who they go with on the left side, whether it's going to be Lena Alsmeyer or Britt Herbots. Also up tomorrow, Firenze takes on Macerata at home. Bergamo visits Busto, and this is another matchup that I'm going to keep my eyes on. Busto has been unlucky with their draws so far, but I'm excited to see how they can do. And Bergamo going to remain as a playoff team. Monviso is going to be taking on Perugia. Valfolia is going to be taking on Milano. Milano is going to want to get back into the win column with this one. Consolini is going to have to take on the Giants in Conegliano, and then Scandicci is going to be taking on Cuneo. So I'm really going to have my eye on the two matches that I mentioned earlier. Chieri against Novara at 7:15 p.m. So that one's going to be around 1:15 p.m. for us here on the Eastern time zone. And then the Bergamo match at 8:30. So that'll actually be really nice because it gives us about, an hour and 15 minutes grace period between these two matches to check things out. And I don't think we really need to look at the standings this early in the year. They don't really matter all of that much. Also, that match Novara against Chieri is also going to be on Ray Sport, for those who don't want to pay for the VBTV subscription and just want to use a VPN to watch it on Ray Sport. Okay? All right. Now we're going to be moving on to the Sutnar Ligi, where we saw the first week of matches go down. Once again, if you want to hear my preview with Cem, I thought it was really good. Like Cem was really, really good. That C is such an interesting sound for Turkish people. He's so knowledgeable about the Turkish league and really did a good breakdown of all of the different teams. And it's not a 3-hour monster like we saw with the Lega Volley Femminile. So that was a really good episode. I would definitely encourage you to grab the membership and check that one out. But the big match that was actually going on as we were doing the preview was Vakifbank playing host? Yeah, I'm pretty sure they were playing host to Zarenspor. Don't quote me on that. And this one was a really fun match to watch, and then Vakifbank really turned things on. That team is an absolute monster of a team. Of course, you've got Guidetti over there, my boy TJ Sanders. Yeah, Jem. Thank you, Orkun. Appreciate it. I wanna make sure that I'm pronouncing these things properly, but Rodman really had it down. I learned so much in listening to him, and just having that kind of insight has me way more excited to watch the Lego or the Sutnar Ligi and appreciate. Vakif was away at Zarenspor, and Zarenspor, they will be in the Champions League this year. They bought them their way in, but they're one of the big teams, and I think they're probably going to be the fourth place team and really vie to be amongst the elite teams in the Sutnar Ligi this year. But Vakifbank was absolutely unreal. If we look at their team stats here, Marina Markova had an absolute game, 30 points, 30 dong, which is huge in her first match of the year, 28 for 48 with 2 blocks. She was unreal. She also had a 48% efficiency on the afternoon. Just a really good outing for Vakifbank altogether. And I mean, this is a team, if you're looking and watching online, like Kazot had 18 points and she didn't even start in that last set. They brought in Chako Bogu and needed to play with the foreigner rules. Zaragunish had 10. She was 6 for 14 with 4 blocks, but also had 7 touches. You got to love these Volley Station stat sheets, right? They just give you so much information. Still don't have digs, though. I don't know why. We still don't have digs. So frustrating, but it is what it is. And then also Tiana Boskovic, the newly acquired Tiana Boskovic, 16 points, 14 for 36. I didn't think it was her best outing, only a 31% efficiency, but still, this Vakifbank offense is really, really good, and they're just a good team all around. They know how to battle. 14 blocks as a team, which is huge in just those 4 sets. And as I mentioned before, this one was really only interesting for the first couple of sets. Vakifbank was up by quite a bit in the first. Sport came nicely back, but at the end of the day, Vakifbank just has a few more horses than Sport, right? And Alexander Uzelats, what can we say about her? She was outstanding in her second year for Sport. 17 for 53. Didn't have the best efficiency because she got blocked 8 times. But to me, in watching that match, it was just really because they didn't really have a secondary option. Lazareva was okay. I didn't think she was fantastic. Once again, she only had a 23% efficiency, and she was 16 for 47 on the day. So she just really wasn't that terminal for Sport in this one. And I'm wondering if we're going to see Brkika Mihailovic a little bit more. And yeah, you're pointing it out just as Munax is saying. They're not really using their middles, which is really frustrating. Is really frustrating. And Salila Shaheen also struggled to score 8 for 21, but she also had 4 unforced errors in this one. And now I think Sport is going to find it a lot more difficult to win games this year, as they're not really sneaking up on anyone at all this season. Some other big results that we can look at. Galatasaray got a big 3-dong win over Aydin, and now Galatasaray was down 24-19 in the second set and then came back to win that one 26-24. So that's a really good win for Galatasaray, even though they got the 3-dong, for them to be able to come in and do that is really, really good. Fenerbahce did lose a set against Araspor, but in that set, they were terrible offensively. They were 9 for 35 in that set with a 3% efficiency. They turned things around. Like they won this one in 3, 25-15, 15-25, 25-18, 25-13. Besiktas also beat Ilkbank 3-1, 21-25, 25-20, 25-12, 25-20, and 25-19. And then Exasha Basha in their new era getting a really good 3-dong over Koziboru. And Koziboru is one of the teams that is, I think, like the team that could be like vying for the playoffs. Once again, the Sultanar Ligi does it a little differently. 1 through 4 goes into one playoff, and then 5 through 8 goes into another playoff for, as they call, the European playoff, to be able to get into one of the European leagues. But I think that's a really good win, as Kozuboro is a pretty good team. And yeah, Karakurt was on fire. This is the points here for. Oh no, that was not. Let's go back. Exashabashi. Karakurt led the way with 18 points. She was 15 for 25. Wow. 3 blocks as well, hitting a 60% with a 52% efficiency. That is really big. And once again, Karakurt is playing on the left side this year, which I think is really important to note, because she is she's playing on the left side this year. Yaprak Erket was in there to pass the ball and bring some stability. Now, I'll have you notice down here, Karakurt's passing numbers need to get better. On 14 targets, she was 14% positive, 14% perfect. That's going to need to get better, especially going into a national team season, but still. Also, Magdalena Stysiak finally, for once, is going to be her number 1 option all season. all season long. Stysiak was all right offensively, 7 for 19, but only with a 60% efficiency. But she had 2 blocks and 6 aces. 6 aces is massive, and that helped Exacerbasci be just so good from the baseline. They had 8 aces as a team to only 10 errors, and coach will take that absolutely any day. And I think it's really good for Exacerbasci to have replaced Boskovic with Stysiak, but it's also good for Stysiak. Like, how many years was he a backup to others in the Lega Volley family? How many years was she a backup to Melissa Vargas? And now I think that's one of the reasons why she hasn't really been able to establish herself as one of the best opposites in the world, because she has always had to split time with someone else. So you love the fact that Stysiak is going to be just the number one option all year long, especially for a very good team like this. And now looking forward to the schedule, it is going to be some Saturday matches. We have Ilkbank taking on Exacerbasci, Vakifbank taking on Beşiktaş, Koziboru is going to be taking on Galatasaray. So they've got another tough one to start the year. And then on Sunday, Fenerbahce is going to be taking on THY. Göztepe is going to be taking on Aydin. Zarenspal is going to be taking on... Gems taught me how to say this one, and I'll pass for this one. And then Nilüfer takes on Araspor on Sunday as well. And then it looks like there's going to be some early matches, some midweek matches again on Tuesday and Wednesday as well. But we'll talk about those on next week's show. And that pretty much wraps up what's going on the women's side right now. And we'll be following it a little bit closer, okay, as we go on. But now we're going to be moving on to just some men's exhibitions results. I really don't want to look into these too far. And it was Canadian Thanksgiving this weekend, so I really wasn't trying to spend all that much time just watching exhibition matches. So I'm going to first and foremost talk about Perugia, who was in Tokyo taking on Suntory. And, I thought this was a really good spectacle. I wouldn't call it some fantastic matches because it was clear that both teams were in preseason form. But, it was a sold out 14,000 person crowd for Perugia against Suntory. It looks like it was on TV, and basically you had the ability to watch both Ran and Ishikawa at all times, right? There was streams to watch basically just the two of them at all times, kind of like F1. I actually don't hate that. I would love the ability if VBTV, could give us different views, right? I would really love to just, hey, give me a baseline view. Just give me that high angle baseline view, or if you could just watch a few of your players, that would be something worth paying for all this money for VBTV so far. But, I love the fact that Perugia went over to Japan and played the way that they did in game 1, which is the game that we saw Sakita play for Suntory as he's still coming back from that injury. It was a 3-dong for... sorry, not 3-dong, but a 3-1 win for Perugia. They lost the first set 20-25, then won 25-21, 26-24, and 25-21. Perugia was really good with 10 blocks and 6 aces and had a 48% efficiency, which was really nicely done but by Perugia. And then in match number 2, this is when Suntory brought in Oya. And it was a full-on 3-dong, 25-19, 25-21, 25-18. And I watched a few of the clips of this match. I didn't really care too much about it. I saw other people doing some breakdowns of this match online and stuff like that, and wondering what had happened to Suntory. And to me, I just think at the end of the day, A, it's preseason, but B, as much as the SV League has really taken some step forwards and they brought in some really nice pieces. Suntory has Mazurski, they have Igor Kliuka, they have Ran Takahashi, they have Sakita, they picked up Ogawa as well. Oya is their backup setter. So they've got some really nice pieces over there. It's still not up to the level of the Lega Volley. And if you watched my preview with Monty at all, like this Perugia team is going to be really, really good, right? This Perugia team I think is fantastic. I am working on the Lega Volley preview, so that will be coming in the next couple of days. And then also I will be doing a preview for the Plus Liga. The roundtable with Adanos is going to be going on Thursday. I'm still pinning down a time with him, but that will be members only, of course, to check out the roundtable with Adanos. And then I don't think I'm going to be able to get the Plus Liga preview out before the season, just because I'm going to be away this weekend in Calgary. So you're going to have to be patient, but still Perugia starting the season with a couple of really nice wins. Also going on in the Lega Volley, there was the Jesi Cup, and the Jesi Cup featured 4 teams: Piacenza, Milano, Grotta, and Lube. And surprisingly, Lube finished 4th, Grotta finished 3rd, Milano finished 2nd, and Piacenza finished 1st. Piacenza took down Grotta in the first round on the first day, with a few different lineups, and then it took down Milano 25-21. Milano won the first 25-21, and then Piacenza won 25-23, 25-22, and 25-21. There was a bit of an issue for Milano in that final match. It looks like Cacioppa and Sepe Roti ran into each other in the final match in the second set. Both had to be subbed off. Roti, it sounds like he suffered a bit of a shoulder injury. So we'll see how that goes for Roti and what his timeline to be able to come back is. But big shout out to Piacenza in game 1 against Grotta. Simone had 17 points. Now, once again, I didn't really watch this match, but it looks like Bovalenta had 12, Bergman had 15, Simone had 17, Gutierrez had 17, and Galassi had 11, which was pretty surprising. And then in game 2 for Piacenza, we saw Bovalenta lead with 17 points. Bergman had 7. Henri Leon had 7 off the bench. And Gutierrez had 16, whereas Milano was led by, of course, Ferry Regers with 19, and Otsuka had 13 as well. But we'll keep an eye on Sepe Roti and what happened to him. But that wasn't the only tournament going on in Italy this past weekend, as there was also the Monte Chieri tournament in Trento. And now it looks like Trento was a little bit of, not quite going with their entire team. Of course, there's going to be no Daniele Lavia for Trento this season, but Modena beat Padova 3-2 in the first match of the game, and then Trento beat Monza 3-0. And then it looks like Monza, Padova just kind of put in the subs. Monza won the second game, and then Trento took down Modena in the last match of the season. And it looks like I got, Legia, shout out to Legia Drolo, who wrote me a bit of a recap. He was actually pretty impressed with Padova. And now in my preview, I still think that Padova might be a team that's going to be fighting off relegation, but we'll have to see how they do. But just some updates. I don't really want to look in too far to some of these preseason tournaments, because, even looking into Lube got 4th in the Jesi Cup, but, this is still a team that is getting used to playing together, and still they've got so many guys who were just playing, less than a month ago at the World Championships, like in Botolo and Gargiulo, and of course Alex Nikolov, that this is still a team that hasn't really been able to train together until this week. So even though Lube got 4th, I'm really not too worried about their result. I even talked about it with Monty a little bit, that I kind of expect this Lube team to have a bit of a lull to begin the season with how late some of their guys were playing and the level that they're playing at, right? You train all year and especially your entire season to peak right at the perfect time, and so many of those guys did that. And it's only natural to fall down, so I'm not too worried about these Lube results overall. Now, that wasn't the only tournament going on, as there was also the Bogdanta Volley Cup going on in Lublin, and Lublin ended up winning this one. They took down JW in the semifinals, and then they took down Warszawa in the finals. And I want to give a big shout out to my guy, Jackson Young, who got signed last minute. And I'm not going to say I called it, but you can go back to some of my World Championships shows, and I talked about how well Jackson played off the bench against Poland in the round 16. And I said I wouldn't be surprised to see if a Polish team maybe wanted to pick him up in the winter transfer window. And I mean, they beat me to the punch. Lublin, of all teams, went out and picked up Jackson. He was supposed to play for Friedrichshafen this year, but not only does he go and, get picked up by a Polish team, but he ends up being the MVP of the tournament. Also on the dream team from Lublin, Marcin Komenda, Jakub Wachnik, Alex Grozanov, Kevin Sasek. So big ups to my guy for Jackson Young on the MVP. And it looks like actually Brandon Coppers as well from Canada was another guy who was able to get on the dream team for the Bogdanta Cup. And I'm really excited for this Plus Liga season. I really dove into it quite a bit. And especially as I'm working on my preview right now, I think it's going to be spicy. There's been a lot of change on a lot of these teams. A lot of guys leaving the league, a lot of guys coming to the league. And I think it's going to become a lot of fun. Now, speaking of guys coming to the league, we'll have to go talk about the other big tournament happening in Poland at the moment, the Janusz Sikorski Memorial Tournament. And now this one is a little bit interesting because it says here that Resovia won the tournament, and that's just because they didn't drop any sets. They actually never played Verona throughout this tournament. So actually, it was 4 teams: Verona, Zaksa, Norvid, and Resovia. Verona beat Zaksa 3-1, 25-23, 26, lost 24-26, 25-23, 25-21. And then they also 3-donged Norvid 25-16, 25-20, and 25-22. Whereas Resovia 3-donged Norvid 25-15, 25-23, and 25-18. And then Resovia also 3-donged Zaksa 25-22, 25-17, 25-20. Once again, I don't really want to look into much to any of these results. We can watch throughout the season kind of to see how it goes. But I think it's interesting to note some of these early preseason tournaments because both of these leagues start literally next week. The Lega Volley starts on Monday, which is going to be a fun Monday to watch. And then the Plus Liga starts on maybe, I think, Tuesday. Let's pull this up right here. No, it also starts on Monday with the first game, Gdansk against Lviv on Monday. 2 games on Tuesday with Suwałki taking on Resovia. Warszawa is going to be taking on the newcomers of Chelm. Shout out to Jay Blankino. He'll be on there as well. I think we're going to have a really fun matchup with Olsztyn taking on JW. Olsztyn is going to be the new home of Arthur Schwartz. And then Norvid against Lublin, like 2 of the most impressive teams from last year, going to be battling off. Norvid, of course, picking up Luciano Di Cecco in the offseason, adding to what is a pretty good roster as well. And Lublin really just stacking up with a lot of good players in the offseason and running with pretty much the same roster as well. And then we've got a couple of bangers on the weekend too. Zawiercie against Warszawa, and then Lublin taking on Zaksa as well. Skra versus Olsztyn. And then on Sunday, we have JW taking on Schleps, Resovia taking on Gdansk, and Chem taking on Gorzów. Okay, so JW, 4 injuries already. Wow. that'll be very interesting to see. So, Peter, can you let me know in the Discord where those injuries are, because I could definitely put them into my preview for this year. And of course, no Thomas Fornal either for JW, as he's headed to Turkey to go play. One other league that I want to touch on real quick, just to talk about, it was the Super Cup going on in the Bundesliga. Berlin did end up winning it. Jake Haynes was the MVP. He had 33 points in that final match, which I'll just go through some of these results here. Throughout this tournament, Berlin beat Netzhoppers 3-0 in the quarterfinals. Friedrichshafen beat Düren 3-0. And this was really on the back of Kyle Hobis, was it? For Friedrichshafen? Yeah, Kyle Hobis had 22 points over Düren in the quarterfinals, which was really big. Lundberg with a 3-1 win over Freiburg, and then Hersching with a 3-1 win over Gießen. Also, Düren in the semifinals, or the B-side semifinals, Düren beat Freiburg 3-0. Netzhoppers beat Gießen 3-2. And in the real semifinals, just like as we've seen the past year, Lundberg is really establishing themselves as the second best team in the league. They got a 3-0 over Friedrichshafen, while Berlin got a 3-0 over Hersching. And then Berlin ended up winning in the finals 3-1 over Lundberg. And you do have to feel for Friedrichshafen. They were supposed to have Jackson Young as one of their starters this year, but he has gone to the Plusliga. As you see down here, Jake Haynes, 33 points in the finals. That's some big points out there. Well, Nolan Flexen getting out there with 11 points as well. Matt Knigge played early in the tournament, didn't play in the finals. On the other side of the net, Chris Byam had 15 points for Lundberg, of course, coming out of MRU. And then Ethan Champlin. I said it all summer long. I was a big Ethan Champlin trooper. He also had 15 points. He was 13 for 29 overall on the day. And just looking at some of the best scorers here, Jake Haynes, of course, was unreal. He was averaging 6.44 points per set. Also over an ace per set. But Chris Byam and Jordan Canham, two other good Canadian guys out there scoring. That Düren team is going to be a lot of fun. It's kind of like a U Sport All-Stars. You've got Jordan Canham on the right side from the University of Alberta Golden Bears. Down the middle, you have Philip Lauder. And then on the left side, you have Zach Hutchison Philip Lauder is from Brandon. And then on the left side, you have Zach Hutchinson from Queens, and then Robin Backdaddy, a former U Sport All-Star as well, who played for Brandon quite a while ago. But yeah, just some things that we're going to be able to keep an eye on throughout the season. But basically, I do think, let's see when the Bundesliga is starting. They're also going to be starting on the 21st. So that is going to be on Tuesday. And once again, if you join the Discord, big shout out to Jana. She has made a list, or been sharing some stuff about when the free matches on Twitch from Spontent are going to be for the Bundesliga. So, yeah, that will be a big thing to check out. So, I think that's pretty much it that we need to talk about this. Sorry about that. I think that's pretty much it to talk about this week. Really appreciate everyone tuning in. I'm going to bring it up in the Discord talk about different names. I actually really like the Volleyball Journal. I think that would be pretty fun a pretty fun way to call it. But yeah, I appreciate you, everyone tuning in, and I hope you guys have a great week. I will be live on Thursday with Adanos to do a preview of the Plusliga, and there will also be a Lega Volley preview coming in either tomorrow or on Thursday as well. Okay. Thanks everyone. I hope you have a great day, and I will see you soon. Peace.